Hey, good evening and welcome to Connect Daily Bread, where we recognize man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Today's reading is in Philippians chapter 3. As you can see, I am out and about, so go ahead and read that chapter on your own, and I will share some thoughts from chapter 3 of Philippians. So here Paul begins to shift tone a little bit, and he highlighted the glory of Jesus' selflessness yesterday, and he commended Timothy and Epaphroditus for imitating that selflessness. And now Paul shifts gears and talks about the other side of that coin, the realities, the warnings, the disgust of selfishness, particularly selfishness in the kingdom. It just doesn't belong. And so apparently there had been some boasting from others going on there, boasting in the flesh, boasting about worldly things. And it looks like some of that had to do with a heritage of Judaism, right? Being first to the knowledge of Yahweh, the one true God, and the scriptures. And this is something we've seen consistently in readings thus far and throughout the New Testament. And so Paul lays out, and he really repudiates that mindset, that approach. And in order to do that, he lays out the litany of his credentials in the faith and in that game, that sick game that had been being played. And he lays out that if anyone's boasting in the flesh, that he's got more reason to boast in the flesh. Pharisees of Pharisees, circumcised on the eighth day, that as for zeal for God, he persecuted the church and thought that was proper and right. And he says, whatever these things were to me, and again, his credentials looked incredible, like to be progressing as he was at his age in Judaism and the Pharisee sect, particularly studying and learning under Gamaliel, indicated that he had a seat on the Sanhedrin, which is quite the accomplishment. So this was like, a dude that studied at Harvard and was a candidate to study law at Harvard. He's a candidate to wind up on the Supreme Court. I mean, he had it made to that degree. Would be maybe a way that we could understand, comprehend that in our context. And he says all these things that people could put hope and pride in, they're rubbish. And that's the word that we're given, and that's a really gentle translation there. The word literally has to do with dung is the word, refuse. And he says that it's just totally worthless, all these things. And then Paul lays out now his pursuit of Jesus and what truly matters. And he calls all those things worthless in relation to knowing Christ, to deeply, intimately experiencing Christ, to know his power, to suffer with him, to, in doing that, experience attaining the resurrection to new life. He says all compared to that, all this previous stuff means nothing. Christ means everything. This pairs with elsewhere him saying to live is Christ, to die is gain. Or I've been crucified with Christ. I no longer live. The life I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God. So everything in and about Paul was pointed to, focused on pursuing, glorifying Jesus. And he says, as he points out that's the direction he's headed, he lays out, man, not that I've attained it already. I'm not there. I haven't arrived. And again, this is powerful because this is late in Paul's life as he's in prison in Rome. And he says, man, I haven't arrived. But there's one thing I do. I forget what's behind me and strain forward to what's ahead, to take hold of that for which Jesus took hold of me. So we see one of the secrets to Paul's effectiveness was his ability to forget the past, the good and the bad, to, as Lynn would say, turn the rearview mirror up and drive with everything he had towards Jesus, to drive and live in a way that would enable him to say in 2 Timothy, I've fought the good fight, I've run the race, and now there's a crown laid up in heaven for me. And so Paul lets us in on what allowed him to be used by God in such a powerful way. And the cool thing is, there really are no extraordinary people. There's just ordinary people with an extraordinary commitment to Jesus. And with folks like that, God's able to do extraordinary things. So that's my encouragement for us today, is to deepen our commitment to Jesus, to really take hold of that to which he's taken hold of us. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.